Welcome back to The Critique. Today we're looking at a narrative piece called Van Ban Duk Den, which follows Mrs. Lan, a 59-year-old woman with chronic low back pain whose daughter's gambling debts are turning her life upside down.
It is, yeah. It's a really heavy premise. And you can see this attempt to mirror the physical pain with the financial and emotional weight. The potential here is huge, but right now, the piece is just getting in its own way.
Let's jump right into the biggest hurdle, which is how the medical advice is handled. The piece struggles to balance the emotional narrative with these rigid lists of clinical protocols.
Jarring is exactly the right word. You're in this incredibly emotional scene where Mrs. Lan is terrified about her evaporating finances, right?
The tension is high.
So high. And then the narrative it screeches to a halt. And suddenly we're looking at a bulleted list of exercises. Pelvic tilts, glute bridges.
It feels like the author panicked. Like they were worried the reader wouldn't know the exact form for a pelvic tilt, so they just stopped telling a story.
And started writing a pamphlet. It just shatters the immersion. 1 second, I'm invested in Mrs. Lan's crisis, and the next, I'm checked out. I feel like I'm reading a brochure in a physical therapy clinic.
So what's the fix here? Because the educational piece is clearly important to the author. You can't just cut the medical advice.
No, you can't. You have to weave the instruction into the narrative action. You sort of have to hide the medicine in the candy, you know? You can't just stop the plot for a lecture.
Okay, so let's use an example from the text. The broomstick hip hinge. Right now, it's literally a list of steps.
Right, and it's so boring. But imagine this. Mrs. Lan is stressed out. Maybe she's cleaning up a mess her daughter made during an argument, a broken vase or something.
Oh, okay. And she's bending over to sweep it up, but in a way that's going to hurt her back.
Exactly. And that's when the neighbor, the PE teacher, walks in. Don't just list the exercise, write the scene. He sees her, physically stops her, grabs the broom, but not to sweep.
To demonstrate.
He uses it to demonstrate. Puts it on her back, shows her the 3 points of contact. Now the hip hinge isn't a clinical instruction. It's a moment of human connection. It's a neighbor caring for her when she's at her breaking point.
And that does two things. It teaches the mechanic, but it also develops the characters and moves the story forward.
And it sticks in your head. I'm gonna remember that scene way longer than I'll remember bullet point 3, keep a neutral spine.
The same problem happens with the abdominal bracing. The text just says abdominal bracing. 10 breaths. It feels like homework.
It really does. And it's such a missed opportunity because the author mentions her insomnia from the stress, so use that.
Okay.
Don't tell me to do 10 reps. Show me Mrs. Lan lying on her mat at 2 in the morning staring at the ceiling. Her mind is racing about her savings account.
And she uses the breathing, not just for her back, but to calm her mind.
Yes. Describe the physical sensation of it. She's tightening that corset muscle, as if she's trying to physically hold herself together while her life is falling apart. The medical advice becomes a coping mechanism, a character beat, not a prescription.
That's so much more powerful. It stops being a list and starts being a survival tactic. And that brings us to the people helping her survive, this coalition of kindness.
I love that name, Coalition of Kindness. It sets up a great theme about community. But right now, these people aren't characters. They're vending machines.
That's a great way to put it. You put a coin in, you get a lumbar pillow.
It's so transactional. The nurse shows up to deliver evidence-based pain management. The PE teacher is an avatar for biomechanics. They walk on stage, drop off a prop or a catchy phrase like motion is lotion, and then they just vanish.
Which makes the world feel really flat. If the whole point is that community is powerful medicine, we need to actually believe in these people.
We need some friction. Real communities aren't these perfectly aligned support groups. They're messy. People have different ideas. These neighbors should have personalities, and honestly, they shouldn't all agree with each other.
That's an interesting thought, because right now their advice just layers on top of each other perfectly.
Which isn't realistic at all. Think about the florist and the nurse. You've got a medical professional who believes in pain scales, and then you have the florist offering herbal wraps and massage devices. They should be butting heads a little.
I can see that. Maybe the florist offers the massage device and the nurse kind of rolls her eyes, makes a comment about unproven modalities.
Exactly. A little friendly conflict that Mrs. Lan has to navigate. It makes them feel like real people with their own beliefs, not just encyclopedias with legs. It adds so much texture.
There's that moment where the nurse tells Mrs. Lon that sleep is an anti-inflammatory. It's a great piece of information, but the delivery is so dry.
It is. It reads like a sidebar in a textbook. So let's humanize it. Why is she telling her this? Maybe the nurse lives next door and she saw Mrs. Lon's lights on at 3 a.m.
Ah, so it comes from observation, not just a fact sheet.
Right. She's not lecturing, she's worried about her friend. She connects the lack of sleep to the stress about the daughter. And then, when she says, "You need to sleep, Lon, it's the best anti-inflammatory you have," it lands with real emotional weight. It shows why the community matters. They notice.
That really brings home the whole biopsychosocial model the author is aiming for, which I think leads to our next point. The connection between the psychological stress and the physical pain is stated but not really demonstrated.
Stated is the key word. They don't show it. We're told at the end that stress is a factor, but during the story, the financial crisis and the back pain just feel like they're running on two parallel tracks.
We see her worry about money, and we see her back hurt, but we don't see the one thing trigger the other.
We need to see the mechanism. The reader needs to feel that direct cause and effect.
So how do you visualize that? A psychosocial trigger?
Okay, take the scene where she checks her bank balance. She's on her phone, she sees the number drop again. Don't just tell us she felt anxious. Describe what happens in her body.
That stubborn brick in her lower back.
Yes, the second her eyes see that number, describe the spasm. The brick tightens. The pain spikes from like a 3 to a 6. She hasn't moved an inch, but her nervous system just perceived a massive threat, and her back is screaming.
That connects A to B perfectly, and you don't need a single medical term to do it.
And it works in reverse too. Look at the red flag checklist. Right now it reads like a triage form. She's just calmly ruling things out.
It's very rational.
But she's not in a rational state. She has lost control of everything. Her money, her daughter. Her body is the only thing left that she can try to control. So that red flag check shouldn't be a calm review. It should be a desperate, almost frantic search for control.
Like she's obsessively checking herself.
Exactly. She's checking for numbness, checking her temperature, desperate to find something she can rule out, something she can say no to, because she can't say no to what's happening to her savings. The relief of finding no red flags should be in sharp contrast to the absolute panic of her bank account.
That adds so much urgency. But to pull that off, the language has to be just right. And I think that's the last point. The piece oscillates between accessible layman's terms and overly specific clinical jargon.
Oh, the tone has a huge identity crisis. I honestly couldn't figure out who the audience is supposed to be.
1 minute it's beautiful and narrative, and the next you get hit with gait control mechanisms or paraspinal muscle strain.
It just creates this wall. It pushes the reader away. It feels like the author is just trying to prove they did their homework. The gait control explanation, in particular, just felt like the author pausing the story to lecture us on the science.
So the key is to filter all of that through Mrs. Lon's own perspective.
Right. She's not a physical therapist. She would never think, this vibration is activating my gait control mechanism.
So what would she think? How do you translate that?
She thinks in sensation. Describe what it feels like. The vibration from the massage device confuses the nerves. It turns that sharp ache into a dull buzz. It scrambles the signal. That's how a person experiences it.
Okay, what about a term like suboptimal lifting mechanics? That one really stuck out.
Oh, it's just awful. It's robotic. That's what you write in a chart note. In a story, you describe the actual mistake. She used to twist while holding a bag of rice. And then you describe the new way, the unblock movement. It feels stiff. It feels weird.
But safer.
But safe. Describe that feeling of moving like a solid block instead of a loose collection of parts. You convey the biomechanics through sensory detail, not jargon.
So paraspinal muscle strain becomes...
The muscles along her spine felt like tight, angry ropes. Facet joint irritation becomes a sharp pinch deep inside her back.
This has been a really rich critique, so much to work with here.
It's a piece with incredible potential. The core elements are all there. It just needs to trust the story and stop trying to be a textbook.
So let's recap the main points for the listener. First, integration. Stop the lists.
And turn the bullet points into scenes. Show the neighbor teaching her with the broomstick in a moment of crisis.
Second, characters. The coalition of kindness needs to feel like real people.
Flesh them out. Let them disagree. Make the interactions personal, like the nurse noticing the lights on late at night.
Third, show the link. Don't just tell us stress causes pain.
Make us see it. Show the bank notification causing the physical spasm. Show the red flag check as a psychological act.
And finally, tone. Translate that jargon.
Exactly. If Mrs. Land wouldn't think it, cut it. Use sensory language to describe the feeling, not the science.
It's a story about resilience, and it deserves to be told in a way that feels just as human. So to our listener, this is a powerful story waiting to break free. We'd invite you to take these ideas and rewrite this, focusing on showing the recovery, not just prescribing it.
I really hope we see this one again. Once those characters come alive and the jargon melts away, I think this could be something really special.
Submit the work again once you've made those edits. We'd love to do a follow-up. That does it for this critique. Keep writing, and we'll see you next time.